Welcome to the PlanetRoq Podcast, the hottest show in the cosmos. Get ready for insight and inspiration right here on PlanetRoq with your special guest, Albert Shaw, and your cosmic guide through our ever-changing space and time. I'm your host, Raquel Herring. Hello, and welcome to the PlanetRoq Podcast, your go-to spot for all things relationships, personal growth, and navigating life's twists and turns. From the depths of dating and marital dynamics to the heights of spiritual journeys, entrepreneurship, money, pets, and plants, we explore every facet of human connection. I'm Raquel Herring, your cosmic companion on this wild ride called life, because life be lifing. Each episode of the PlanetRoq Podcast is packed with insights and inspiration to help you thrive in this ever-changing world. From heartwarming stories to candid conversations, we're here to empower you and uplift your spirits. Follow me on social media for updates and swing by my website at raquelherring.com to stay connected. So relax, settle in, and let's rock your world one relationship at a time right here on PlanetRoq. Today, we have the privilege of welcoming a truly inspiring guest to the PlanetRoq Podcast. Albert Shaw is not just an entrepreneur. He's a visionary who has turned his passion for business into a powerful force for good. As the founder of ProMind Advantage, Albert combines his expertise in business development with a deep commitment to mental health, showing us all that a healthy mind is the foundation for success in any venture. Facts. With over 15 years of experience in business coaching and marketing, Albert's journey is one of resilience, innovation, and a genuine desire to help others thrive. His work in neuromarketing and brand strategy has made him a sought-after expert, and his advocacy for mental health awareness is both personal and profound. Albert, it's an absolute honor to have you on the show today. Welcome to the PlanetRoq Podcast.
Hey, Raquel, how are you today?
I'm fantastic. How are you?
I'm having the best day ever.
Praise God. Yes. So we're going to get right into it. Your entrepreneur journey started at an early age. Yeah. Can you take us back to the first Mother's Day basket you sold?
Oh, my goodness. So it was actually a church thing. So our church, the church I grew up in, for Mother's Day and for Valentine's Day, we would all get together and make baskets. So they would turn the entire dining room of the church into like an assembly line. You had baskets, you had bears, you had candy, and then we would all go on to different corners and sell them. I was about 8 years old when we started doing that. And that's when I kind of got my start into like being an entrepreneur, because most of my family members were entrepreneurs. Mm-hmm. So being able to just kind of see what the hustle looked like on the corner selling baskets was just like, at 8, I had to learn how to count money and sell baskets and upsell baskets. So it started there. Yeah. And then it just kept going. Like, I just loved it.
How did that early experience shape your approach to business today?
It made me learn the importance of having ambition, and being able to just get what you want, right? Because when I was younger selling those baskets, I had to be able to talk to the people that were coming, and I had to be able to interact with people. Mm-hmm. So now it helps me that I know how to be a people person, and I can deal with different types of people, because different types of people were coming to, get baskets. So I had to know how to be personable. I had to know how to kind of sell a little bit. Yeah. If somebody wanted a small basket, I kind of had to try to see if they can buy the bigger basket. Or if we had no more time and it was like the last day, I can give them away. I can have deals and I can give them away. I can make up a price, Nice. So all of that stuff just really added to like who I am now as a business person.
I see that. Yeah. You've combined business development with a strong commitment to mental health in your work. So, how do you see these two areas intersecting, and why is it important for entrepreneurs to prioritize mental well-being?
So, mental well-being, I think, so when it comes to business and mental health, I was featured in the Ocala CEP Network magazine as an expert in mental health and business. And I got there because I realized that businesses was losing money as a result of not implementing mental health practices in the businesses. And I tell people that if you can implement a mental health program within a business, business owners can make more money and they can retain good talent, right?
Yeah.
And so those are the talks that I go around talking about, and that's where they intersect, because people have to work their entire lives, and most people spend more time at work than they do at home.
Right.
So if we have to address mental health in our working space and at home, because it's just as important when you're an entrepreneur to have that balance, you know?
Yeah. So when you say like bringing mental that mental wellness into that workspace, can you tell us like what does that mean?
So whenever I'm talking about mental health in the workplace, I'm
Yes.
always talking about it from two standpoints, right? Absenteeism and presenteeism, right? So absenteeism is people that are not coming to work because of mental health related issues. Maybe it's
Okay.
things that they're dealing with at home, stressors outside of the job. So fit people are physically not there. But
Mm-hmm.
presenteeism is people that are there, but they're not there. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? They're present, but they're not. You might be at work, but your mind is on your car because you're behind on your car note and you're afraid that it might get towed
Okay.
outside. So you're present, but you're not productive.
Yeah.
So those are the things when I'm talking to businesses, those are the two main things. And that's how they can increase the revenue and retain more employees.
And is that by providing the health benefit, or like providing, like what help would it be providing? So maybe like, help them to stay calm, help them to be focused at work, even though, other things are going outside, happening outside of work.
Yeah, so there's a lot of things that I recommend to businesses to just implement mental health in the workplace to kind of make the conversation to just start it. So I typically tell people about Right Direction, and it's a program that the American Psychiatric Association created so that businesses can start to open up the conversations within the workplace. So
Um,
they have PowerPoints, they have websites, they have posters that businesses can put in the HR office. They can put them up in the rooms. If they have different rooms, like basically in the break rooms,
yes.
they have those things and they'll provide them to businesses free of
Mm,
charge. So I always encourage people to go to the rightdirection.com website, and
yeah.
it already gives you all the tools you need to implement it, even the training.
Okay.
So that's one thing. I also recommend, you have some companies that offer gym memberships, right? Because we
Mhm.
know that when you work out, you feel better about yourself.
Yeah.
So implementing something like that, or EAP programs that employers offer. Like there are
Mhm.
just so many different things that people can do to start to open up and address mental health in the workplace. I mean, there's
See.
a lot of things.
Yeah, like we heard for a while there, like at Google or just in Silicon Valley. I don't know like the companies, but they would provide nap times.
Yes,
So
yes,
people can, between, their time of working, because using your mind, especially when you're creating, especially
yeah,
programming and stuff like that, marketing, you're having to constantly be creative and learn a lot of times something new every day.
right,
Yeah, you need a moment in between that time to,
right.
power your mind down for a few moments so you can get back in the game. And a lot of companies, I guess, are starting to do that now.
Yeah, there's more companies are starting to address mental health in the workplace, but
Okay.
not enough. And when I
Mm,
say that, a lot of the businesses that I go to and talk about it, it's just like it's an eye opener because there's something on the APA website, American Psychiatric Association. It's called the Depression Calculator. And what you can do, or what I typically do, is you can put in that business's demographic. So, how many
okay.
employees, how much money, what's the area that they're in, XYZ. And then it'll spit out a number, and that number is going to be how much money your business is losing in mental health related costs.
Wow.
So the last company that I work with, it was a gym, and he was losing over $100,000 a year in mental health related costs. And he told me, he said, Albert, and I can see that. I can see where
Wow.
I'm losing that money.
Yeah.
Hmm.
That's good that he could see it. That,
Yes,
it came to his focus now, and now he can do something about it than like just losing this money and not figuring out
right,
why.
right.
Yeah. Yeah, I realized, because even like me working for myself, I would just work and work and work and work. And I'm trying to start now, take that time to go to the gym. But it's hard to pull away from work, especially when you're working for yourself.
Right.
Hard to pull away, and I would say, like, be kind of kind to yourself. Like, go to the gym, take the nap, take a moment to decompress.
Right.
And every time I do it, I'm refreshed. But the work, it even takes me just to do it.
Yeah.
It tires me out. I'm like, just to pull myself away and say, you can take 30 minutes. You can take
Yes.
an hour.
Yes. Yes.
That's hard.
Yes, because you
You,
deserve that. You deserve that.
yeah.
You deserve that break. You do. And a lot of people say, "Well, I don't have the time." Well, I believe people make time for what's important to them.
Yes.
So if you don't
Yes.
prioritize yourself and your mental health, you can't expect anyone else to.
Right. You're absolutely right. ProMind Advantage. That's your company.
Yeah.
Focuses on merging business innovation with mental health.
Yeah.
So, can you walk us through how you integrate? And I think you probably just said that,
Yeah.
psychological insights
Right.
into your business strategies.
So with ProMind Advantage, the biggest part of it is coming in and evaluating the company and seeing where and how the mental health program can work. Maybe there's one thing that they may use, or it may be several things that they use.
Hmm.
So the way it starts is I kind of just come and I kind of monitor the company
Okay.
and what do the employees look like? What's the morale? Because the biggest issue, and this is a buzzword now, is burnout culture,
Mm,
right? Burnout culture is a big thing now because people are getting burnt out. That's why businesses can't
yes.
retain good employees. And that's why entrepreneurs, such as yourself, they get burnt out because we're
Yes.
not taking enough time to care for us. And in the workplace setting, it's even worse because when you have really good employees, you can work them down into the ground. And so
Yes.
people are burnt out. So I'm always addressing that because if you can address burnout culture,
Yeah.
then you can implement different things like that right direction program or those
Yeah.
EAP programs or gym memberships or naps. You know what I
Yes.
mean? Naps. I mean, I know a lot of companies won't be interested in that, but
Right.
the thing is, but this is the thing though. If my whole thing is this, if you can have happy employees that
Yes.
feel good about coming to work and they feel good about themselves and their mind, body, and spirit, they're going to produce for the business.
Right.
They're going to produce, they're going to make them more money. But as long as people are not addressing the mental health issues or, complexities that are in the workplace, then that's when you start going down the route of burnout culture and stuff like that. So with ProMind Advantage, that's
Mhm.
one of the things that I'm really monitoring is burnout culture. How do people feel about the company? How do they feel when they come to work? Do they feel supported? You
Mhm.
know, and so then I talk with management so that we can start to implement some type of plan for what works for that business because every mental health resource isn't for every company, right? So
Right.
that's kind of that, and all companies have different needs. So
Okay.
the biggest thing is coming in there and really kind of supporting the business to create these programs to, like I said, increase revenue and retain good talent.
Yeah. So you create like a tailored, what do you call that? Like a
It's a
tailored program for them when you
right.
go into their businesses.
Right. So I call
Okay.
it a guide map, right? The
Okay.
pro it's the guide map, and it helps to kind of create in stages, because when your mental health is
Mm,
a really tough thing for people to deal with. It's still very so much stigmatized.
right.
So if you just throw it out there like boom, let's talk about it. Some people may be reluctant.
Yeah.
So it's a gradual process that you have to get people comfortable with, and then once that happens, the real change can start in the business.
Interesting.
Yeah.
You have to get people willing to be okay
Yes.
with accepting the help.
Right. To admit that when you come to work, some days you're not okay.
Right.
Because most people come to work with a mask on,
Yeah.
and they're dealing with a lot. And it's like they're there, but they're not there. And so businesses are losing money because
Yeah.
they need people to be productive. But you can't be productive when you're worried about your car
Right.
being towed or being evicted from your house.
Yeah.
It's hard. People say, well, leave it at the door. Well,
Right.
it's hard for people to leave it at the door sometimes,
Well, yeah, because you can't separate from yourself or the
Right.
issues. Like that takes
Yeah.
a lot of work to be able to
Right.
just like separate like that.
Right.
Yeah, I can totally understand that. And businesses, like you say, they are losing money because you're in this system to just produce, 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 produce.
Right.
And you don't take the time to say, wait a second, I'm human. I have emotions. There's things
Yeah.
going on in my life, and people show up to work with masks on because I think maybe we have just been caught up in a system that says you're not allowed to have these kind of feelings when you come here.
Right.
Your
Right.
life is my life now, and this is what you're supposed to do. Produce for me, and that's that.
Right, right. And that mindset is tough because people
Yeah.
can feel it, because since COVID, business owners have been having a hard time with finding good employees. And
Mm,
it's been a really bad problem since COVID. So the people that they do get, they run them into the ground because it's hard to find quality workers nowadays.
wow. And the turnover rate, the expense of that turnover rate has got to be
Yes.
astronomical.
Exactly, because
Yeah.
businesses have to pay money to train people.
Right.
So it's just like businesses lose so much money by not addressing mental health in the
Right.
workplace.
Crazy.
They don't. You may not think about. People may not think about it that way, but a person's mental health directly impacts their work performance.
That's right. Absolutely.
you
That
know.
that only makes sense.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So you have companies like running after you. You've had leadership roles in various organizations such as the
Yeah.
Salvation Army, Zone Health and Fitness. What are some
Yeah.
of the key challenges besides, trying to get people to realize that this is something that you need? Can you just admit it that you're having issues that you need to work with? And I can help you with that because you face some challenges in these roles. How did you overcome them, being sought after, being in leadership at these companies?
Um. Can you give me the question one more time?
I can't because I asked so much at one time.
Okay.
You've had leadership roles in various organizations because they're
Yeah.
running after you. I
Yeah.
read you sought after, the Salvation Army, the Zone Health and Fitness. What are some of the key challenges you faced in these roles and how did you overcome them?
Well, when it comes to, when I was in Chicago actually working in the Salvation Army, I was in Inglewood out of all
Mhm.
places. And I was able to, yes, I was in Inglewood. I was the director of mentorship there.
Okay.
And it was in a very rough area of Chicago.
Okay.
But being able to work with the kids there, was a lot, because I've been a mentor for over maybe 12, 14 years. I've mentored all over the place, which is
Okay.
why I was with the Salvation Army. And so one of the challenges there obviously was working with the at-risk youth
Mm,
that lived in the city. So it was a lot to overcome because it was so much like gang violence and stuff like that happening there. So it was really hard. But when it came to implementing the mental health in that workplace, one of the things we did was I would have all of the guys, because we had something called open, what is it? When they could come, when anybody in the neighborhood could just come and play basketball.
Okay.
So what I would do is there was one stipulation to being able to open court. There was one stipulation to being able to play basketball, which was everybody had to sit into the bleachers, and I got to talk to them about something life skill related, something motivational, because in their environment they weren't getting that. So doing things to open up their mind, also the staff, addressing mental health and just having candid conversations about those things, and then at Zone Health and Fitness, that was the first company in the state of Florida that I helped to implement the Right Direction program. And it was amazing working there because it was like I was the mental health specialist, on staff, even though I was the marketing director at the time.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, I was the marketing director, and I also implemented that program there. And so it was amazing to see how initially we had challenges with people even kind of being open to it, because like I said, mental health is so stigmatized. But after we started having the conversations and stuff, people started opening up more. I remember one day I was at work and I was coming to my office, and I seen all of the other management team like running to the general manager's office, and I'm like, what's going on? And everybody's like, oh my God, she's having a panic attack. Oh my God, Albert. So I'm thinking to myself like, okay. So I go into the office, and this girl had broke down. She was just crying and sobbing. Whatever she was going through was a lot.
Wow.
And so they were trying to console her. And I told them, I said, do you mind if I take a minute with her? Because at this point, we had already implemented the program. And because I had spearheaded it, I was more of like the point of contact for that.
Got it.
So I sat in there with her, and Raquel, if I could just tell you all of the things that she was going through, it was absolutely heartbreaking. And she had just come to work and she just broke down. Like work was the place she came and broke down. And so after her and I spoke, I gave her something to do at home, as far as I gave her a little homework as far as some introspection stuff, because she was going through a lot. So I was trying to give her some tools that she can use to kind of help her. And so it was a challenge in the beginning, but the more time went on, people were okay with saying,
oh, good.
I'm not good today. Today I don't feel too good. It was good.
Yeah. Yeah, I understand that that's an issue to be willing to admit it. Yeah. We've talked about that a couple of times. So that's how big of an issue it is, that we don't want to admit that we're not doing good. But there's the power in saying, you know what? I'm just not doing good at this moment. And I need help. I need to speak with someone, or I just need a moment to collect myself.
Right.
And people should be willing to give us, all of us, that moment to be able to do that.
Yeah.
And that's good that you're like on the advocacy for mental health. You're on it to, promote that in companies and especially entrepreneurship. Yeah. One thing that really caught my attention when I was reading your bio was about neuromarketing.
Yeah.
Can you tell us what that is? And you are an expert in neuromarketing. And how do you believe? Okay, no, tell us what it is first, and then I'll ask my next question.
A lot of people don't know what neuromarketing is, but I have a certification in Neuromarketing and Consumer Science, and I got it from a business school that I can't think of, because a lot of my certifications are through different business schools. Okay. But this particular one is about how to influence consumer choice, right? And it's all when I was learning neuromarketing, I had to learn what a neurosurgeon would learn. So I had to learn, yes, I had to learn about the brain, the structures of the brain, what certain parts of the brain do, how it affects our thinking. Like I literally had to study the brain
Wow,
and
that's
how.
interesting.
Yes, and so you have doctors that are
Yes,
brain doctors, but we're like marketing brain doctors, if
I
that
think.
makes sense.
Yes.
So so what we do is we know the behavior of consumers, and there's a lot of ways that we're able to measure their behavior. You might have seen something where we call it eye tracking, where say somebody goes into a grocery store. Well, they
Right.
have this camera on, and what we're looking for is to see where people are looking,
Mm-hmm.
because that lets us know, okay, well, we want more people to see this, so maybe we need to raise it or move it over here.
Yeah.
You know what
Wow.
I mean? Or when somebody goes onto a website and you're choosing between a green button and a red button. So which color do people more resonate with so that I can
Mhm.
get higher clicks, right?
Yes.
So neuromarketing is all about learning the consumer mind, how they think, and how to help them to drive buying decisions.
Yes. I remember that on Facebook. Like I had a call with Facebook one time, and the lady said, well, what we do is that, I think I forgot what they were tracking, impressions or how long someone
Yeah,
looks at something.
right.
And
Session
I'm like,
time.
how are you doing that? And they were talking about, people may look at something. If it's 3 seconds, then they clock that as something. And that's like, I guess you pay for that moment of the 3 seconds or something it
Yeah.
was that person is looking at what you have out there, or if it's like your post or something, and like they're trying to give you the analytics of what's working, what's not working, just
Yeah.
based on someone being on the other side of the computer and
Yep.
scrolling and maybe just like 3 seconds. How are you even counting that? But they
Yeah.
got it. And
Google tracks everything, and it's a
wow.
bit creepy, but because
Yeah.
I'm really heavy on the analytics side.
Yeah.
So I look at the numbers, I read session times, I read
Wow.
bounce rates. I read all of those things to optimize businesses' online presence.
Yes.
So it's somebody behind. I don't know if you noticed, but say you search for something one time and then you start to see ads on your phone
Yes.
for it or something
Yes.
like that. Yeah, that's done by creepy people like me.
You creeping over there in our heads.
Oh my goodness, in the world of marketing, you can do almost anything.
What?
Yes, you
Amazing
can.
and a little bit unnerving.
Oh,
Yes, yes,
well,
and you know it. Okay, good.
I just tell people, yeah, I know.
But it's amazing though, because especially like for entrepreneur business, that gives you that kind of psychology, and understanding it gives you a
Yeah,
competitive edge.
yeah, yeah, it
Yeah.
does.
So, like, can you share an example of how you've applied this in your work?
So say at the last company that I worked with, I did so many things, so many neuromarketing things. But one thing that I use is Hotjar, and it's almost like a neuromarketing tool. So what it allows me to do is I can see people's behavior on your website real time. So I can see if somebody's clicking on something real hard, I can see that maybe that's confusing them and I need to change that. Or
Interesting.
so what it is it's a recording of every single person that comes to the website, and I'm able to see how long they were there, what pages they were on, if they had issues with the page. I could see if they were confused, I could see if links don't work. So I'm able to monitor behavior, like, oh, more people are gravitating towards this picture and clicking this button. So I'm able to
Okay.
use that information. And I told my coworker at the time, I said, well, right now I'm people watching.
Literally.
No, literally, I'm people watching right now. And that's one of the ways that I utilize neuromarketing. And I'm also a neuro designer. So I've been doing graphic design for about 15 years, longer than I've been doing marketing.
Wow.
And neuro design is just that, designs that captivate people's minds, dynamic messaging that tells a story through graphic work. So I have work on billboards, I've done all types of work, firehouse subs, I mean,
Wow.
you name it. So that's a really, really big thing for me. Like the whole emotional aspect of marketing, that's
Yes.
where I sit at.
That's awesome. Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure plenty of us who are listening and entrepreneurs and business could certainly use that skill and that art. That's like
Yeah.
an art form to be able to do that. Like, would you consider that like user experience? Like sometimes they term it in that capacity, or is greater than that?
I think it's user experience.
Okay.
Yeah, it's more user experience. And then you can use that experience to help drive, better decisions when it comes to whatever you're implementing. But yeah, people, business owners, we all need that mental health aspect, and I know that Resilient Minds, we were going to talk about, which is that
Yes.
peer-to-peer support group for entrepreneurs. Because the reason it started was because I had an office in the Ocala incubator. Are you
Okay.
familiar with incubators, kind of what they are?
Would that be like focus groups,
So
think tanks?
kinda.
Okay.
So, okay, so the incubator where I was at was, we were all small businesses in
Okay.
one big building.
I
And you
see.
had people that supported you. So you had like like people that helped you with your business. So the incubator was literally just that, an incubator for small businesses, and then
Okay.
we all helped each other to grow.
Nice.
So one of the things I realized was that in my mental health talks was that there's no safe space for entrepreneurs to express themselves.
Mm,
Because as an entrepreneur, you're wearing so many hats. Not only are
yes.
you the entrepreneur, but you might be a mom, you might be an aunt, you might be a brother, you might be a cousin, you might be a dad, you know. So there's a lot of things that you have to address in addition to all of the hats that you have to wear as the
Mhm.
entrepreneur. So it's like, we don't have therapists in the group. It is a we have therapists in the group, but it's a non-medical group. So we're not
Yeah.
giving medical advice or anything, but this is just a group of peers, other people that are business owners that are experiencing some of the same stressors that you might be experiencing. So it's more of a group of people that get it.
Mhm.
Like you may be a new business and you may be struggling somewhere else where somebody has overcome.
Yeah,
Now you can share that
that's
information
good.
in the group and help someone else. So a
Yeah.
lot of it is about work-life balance, taking breaks, creating morning routines, and doing things that optimize your mental health. So Resilient Minds is that group and that space for entrepreneurs to express themselves and also get support from other entrepreneurs.
That's wonderful. What personal experiences got you to this point that influenced your commitment to, the mental health awareness, particularly with entrepreneurs?
So, like we talked about, I've been an entrepreneur my entire life. And
Yeah.
so, whenever I talk to people, especially when I'm doing the talks about mental health in the workplace, I always talk about my qualifications, right?
Mhm.
Because not only have I studied mental health for a long time, but I also live with bipolar disorder.
Okay.
So when I have the conversations, I'm having the conversations from the standpoint of a person that's a working person and also a person that lives with bipolar disorder.
Wow.
So, I've had experiences where I was in and out of facilities. I've tried to
Mhm.
unlife myself. And so my journey of mental health and healing myself and learning about bipolar and learning how to just live with it and be my best self,
Mm.
it created a passion for me to help other people, especially at work, because I had a lot of friends and coworkers that were stressed out at work. You know what I mean? And I
Right.
was too. So it's like, to see business owners and coworkers experience the stress that they did, and to live with bipolar and have a mental illness, that's why I advocate so
Mhm.
hard, because I'm a part of the community.
Nah.
I'm a big, that's NAMI. I was on the leadership team, the National Alliance of on Against Mental Illness. They're one of
Okay.
the biggest organizations that advocate for mental health. And so, what one of my roles was to not just be on the leadership team, but I also went out and told my story.
Mm.
I told my story to people in the community. I told my story to churches. I told my story to police departments. I told my story to everyone, because the story of how I got to where I am now, like you just
Yes.
said, that's exactly how, having my own mental health challenges with bipolar, and just seeing how everybody else was also having similar struggles too.
Right. Hmm. I love it. As a certified your SCORE mentor, tell us
Yeah.
what SCORE, that's an acronym. Can you tell us what that means?
So I don't know. And the reason I'm going to tell you that is
Okay.
because SCORE isn't an acronym. SCORE is actually a nonprofit organization
Okay.
that was created by the Small Business Association. And
Oh,
so what it is it's a free resource to entrepreneurs,
yeah.
startup entrepreneurs. And so what happens is, you have people that have all of this knowledge. So you have experts in their field, and what they do is they assign you a business coach for free. It doesn't cost.
What?
This is free from the SBA. And all you
What?
have to do is go onto their website and request a business coach, and they will give you one for free. So so you have people who specialize in marketing, sales, PR. I mean, some of the people that I work with are all
Yeah.
older. They've been doing what they've been doing for 50 years, 60 years. And these are people that have made millions, and they have invested, and they've become successful. And all
Mm.
they want to do is help other people, because it's a volunteer group. We all volunteer. It's nothing you're paid for. So that's one of the things that we do. We get new people, business owners, and you might say, hey, I want to start a business, or I'm in this space in my business and I need help moving
Yeah.
to the next level. Like, you can get a SCORE mentor to do that. In addition to that, I'm also a certified SCORE workshop presenter. So we also offer free workshops. So how to manage social media, how to have work-life balance, how to write
Mm.
grants, how to do all of these things. So I had a workshop called Social Media Mastery. So how to market on all of the big three platforms:
Yeah.
Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. So I've done classes also, workshops that are
Yes.
also free. It's a free resource to everybody.
SCORE through the SBA.
Uh-huh.
Nice. And
Yeah.
okay, so tell us, what are the common challenges entrepreneurs face? And we know that the burnout, but like, well, just how it relates into the SCORE. Like, what are you finding to be the most common, and how do you guide entrepreneurs through the obstacles? Because I know you mentioned the Google advertising on the platforms,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
just trying to understand this whole landscape that's constantly changing. Like,
Yeah.
how do you help, like me, entrepreneur, get past these obstacles? Just like one or
So
two things that you could
yeah,
think of
yeah.
that are common.
Um, a lot of people don't have business plans,
Mm,
and it makes it hard to focus on your business, because your business plan is your direction.
mm-hmm.
And so a lot of people, I notice, most people need help with their business plans. Like, a
Yes.
lot of them need help with their business plans, or even thinking through if a business is a good idea.
Yeah.
Because we also find that some people come to us and their businesses, unfortunately, there's no demand for it, or
Mhm.
the profit margins might be low on it, or it may be something that's not even worthwhile or getting into, or even really entertaining. So
Wow.
people come to us with so many different issues. I had someone who owned a private practice, a clinic somewhere, and he wanted to open up new locations, and he wanted to know, like, how to go through the paperwork or what steps he should take to open up and market his new facility. So these are just, everybody has their own unique challenges that come to us at SCORE, which vary from established business owners to people who are just getting started to people who just have ideas and they want somebody to walk them through it.
That's good you said business plans, because like when I would put my business plan together, the biggest issue I had was projections, like projecting, the revenue. I don't know. I'm projecting a whole lot that I'm hoping gonna happen, and it would just confuse me on that part. And it's like, I would probably think that a lot of people probably overlook that because it's cool with the words, but when you start putting numbers with some words, now it's like, I don't know.
The great thing about SCORE is the mentors are really, really smart. And if one mentor doesn't know something, like say I'm not good with business plans, but I have another mentor that's great with business plans and projections, I can bring in my other mentor to help you within the spaces that I can't necessarily help you in. Because we have people who have backgrounds in everything you can imagine. So that's the great thing about SCORE and those workshops. They have workshops on how to write business plans and do projections. They have classes on how to write grants. These are all free classes.
Awesome. And that's great because you can go online, people like, oh, just go on YouTube and Google it. But sometimes you need someone to like really sit there with you, show you, walk you through it. So you really get a total understanding, because so many things are like fragmented on YouTube all over the place.
Right.
And you just need someone that can structure it where you can understand, and therefore, it stays in your mind and you can keep, rinse and repeat.
Right.
Yeah. That's awesome to hear. Everybody, y'all hear that? SCORE at the SBA. Albert's a part of it, so you can get him. You came up. You know what I'm saying?
It's the website is SCORE. The website is score.org, and anybody can go and register for an account, because like you said, a lot of people just don't know. Like sometimes you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
You know what I mean? And the fact that this is a free resource, everybody I tell about SCORE never knew about it. And I'm like, what? You're an entrepreneur, you don't know about SCORE?
Nope.
Sign up. Go ahead and sign up. Right now. You will be happy you did, I promise.
Awesome. So in your opinion, what are the most, we're going to go back to the mental health in the business world. What are the most significant misconceptions about mental health in the business world, and how can we just start to, address these without all the misunderstandings?
The misconceptions, and one of the biggest ones, I believe, is that I said it before, people should leave it at the door because people can't.
Right.
As much as we want them to, they can't, and that's probably one of the bigger things, for me, because that's the biggest challenge, and then the other challenge is because mental health is so stigmatized,
right?
It's really hard to even open up conversations with people. And some people are open, but a lot of people are reluctant, especially in the Black and brown culture. It's really stigmatized. So it's like having to break through even racial barriers when it comes to mental health in the workplace. It can be hard.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that's true. We just have it in all these different areas, and yes, certain communities have it, more.
even worse. And so having that dynamic in the workspace can be really challenging, because you have people with different belief systems, you have people with all different types of, they think all different types of ways.
Yeah.
So to be able to rally people up and get them to, everybody to have a common goal, which is their mental health, I think that makes it even more, it makes it rewarding, because the girl I was telling you about that had the meltdown at work, not only did she leave feeling better, but I gave her something to do. And she came back to me and said, thank you so much for that. Because everything in life had just hit her at one time, and it just so happened to be at work.
Wow. Now, the listeners are probably saying to me, will she ask him, what did he give her to do? Share that if you'd like.
Yeah. So one of the big things that I'm into is what they call cognitive distortions. And
Okay.
cognitive distortions are basically tricks of the mind, right?
Mhm.
So one cognitive distortion is catastrophizing, right, where we're looking at a situation and looking at it as the only, like, the worst case scenario, right?
Okay.
Like, there is no good or bad, it's just all bad, right? So it's our mind just blowing things up. So
Wow.
one of the things that I encouraged her to do was to look at the things that she was going through
Hmm.
and just look at them from more of a grounded perspective, because
Hmm.
a lot of us, our emotions get into our thoughts and things like that, and it's really hard to look at things from a grounded standpoint. So
Yes.
when you know that your brain, our brain, and it's just built into our DNA. It's not that we want to be this way, it's
Hmm.
just that we are,
Thank you.
so
Yeah.
that I let her know about the cognitive distortions. I helped her with some affirmations. I'm a
Mhm.
really big believer in affirmations, like speaking into existence who you want to be and the things that you want. Like, I told her, like, say out loud to yourself, like, I can get through this. I will
Mhm.
get through this. You know what I mean? And so just keep telling yourself that, and journal. I'm a really big person on journaling. Write your feelings down, because some people don't like to talk to people about mental health related stuff. Write your feelings down, but just get them out of your head. And that's
Yeah.
what I told her.
My cousin and I was talking about this earlier today about, God is like the expert at calling those things that are not as though they
Right,
were. And
right,
sometimes it's like when other people hear it or hear somebody else doing it, it's kind of like, oh, you speaking of, yeah, right. But I mean, who spoke into existence everything, right?
right,
And it
right,
wasn't until he spoke it. And he tells us we have this ability to do the same thing.
right.
And, and instead of us like looking at it like, yeah, okay, in a negative form, I mean, he's the expert at it. And we're learning from him to call those things that are not as though they were, to
Hmm.
speak them into existence. So I'm so glad you said that, because that brings it back to me, because I have to like do this, mapping in my own head to make sure that I do that consistently. And
Yeah,
that's why I said thank you, because we get down on ourselves for like
right.
being negative. But like you say, it's kind of like in there and we have to
It,
like get it out.
I'm gonna throw something. I'm gonna throw something in here to you, and they call it a negativity bias. So
Okay.
the negativity bias is our brain's natural tendency to shift
Yeah.
towards negative information, right? And we
Yeah.
had this is something that's built into us, because many moons ago we
Yeah.
had to be able to protect ourselves. We had to know what was around in our environment, because it was either be killed or be killed.
Hmm.
So we
Hmm.
had to always be on alert, hyper focused.
Hmm.
So our mind always shifted more towards the negative, because it kind of helped keep us alive. But
Yeah.
when you fast forward all of these years later, we still respond to things the same way, and
Yes.
that's not what it really is. So we have these anxiety attacks and feelings as though we're being attacked physically,
Yeah.
but we're not, so it's like that negative. I try to tell people that, because our minds naturally have the tendency to be negative,
Yes.
when you write things down, you can find that things are really not as bad as you think that they are.
That's good.
So it's something that I really encourage people to do, like writing out your feelings and journaling and things like that.
You've authored 2 books and have extensive experience in content strategy. How do
Yeah.
you approach writing content creation, especially when trying to balance informative content with engaging storytelling?
um Content and writing. So I've been a writer for a really long time. And as I had a certification in grant writing, and
Okay.
it's all about how you craft your stories, right? And how to speak to people through those stories. And so with the two books that I have, the first one was Deeper Than Roots, Recreating the Way You Think. And that book was all about unlearning and becoming a better version of yourself. And then the second book was My Thoughts, which leads into the conversation about the text messages. So what happened was I've been sending these text messages for over 15 years. Literally, one day I got up and I said, I'm going to send a positive message to every person in my phone. And I did. And I have been doing it consistently for about 15 years. I've had people text me and said they wanted to commit suicide and didn't. I've had people tell me that my messages have healed their marriages. I've had people tell me that every morning that they'll read my message to their kids and they'll just have a group discussion about it. Like literally, there's been children that grew up on these text messages. So it's something that I really push because I just think that everybody needs just a little bit of positivity in their life because a lot of people don't have anyone pouring into them or telling them, hey, good job, you're an amazing person. Like we don't hear that often from people. So those text messages is just a small part, a small way that I'm able to just kind of give somebody something to either think about or to feel good about themselves.
That's awesome. And before we close, because this just came back to me, I know family is clearly really important to you.
Yeah.
You've mentioned in your bio your wife and 7 children.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So a friend of ours who comes on the show, Matthew Genius, he's having his 7th baby today.
Wow.
So that is so exciting. That's exciting that you said that because like you have a big family. Praise
I do.
Yes.
I do a really big family. And my youngest daughter, she just went to college. We dropped her off 2 weeks ago. And I have a 4-month-old granddaughter.
Whoa, congratulations.
Thank you.
So now how do you balance between your demanding professional life that's like amazing and your personal life amazing? And what lessons can other entrepreneurs learn from your approach?
The biggest thing I do is I make my mental health my number one priority. Like I make time to meditate. I make time to be mindful. I make time to journal. I make time to, go for mindfulness walks. I make time for it. And I truly am a believer that I said it before. People make time for what's important to them. So if you are prioritizing your mental health, then you will excel at anything else.
Advice to entrepreneurs who are working, trying to bring the funds in, who just don't feel like I can't take a break. I can't go for the walk. I can't do the journal. I can't go to the beach and, give myself this decompression time because I have to make it happen. What advice would you give them? Because they got to get the funds coming in. They got to make the rent, make the car note. What advice would you give someone like that?
That you have to have patience. Everything, and people hate to hear that, but
yes,
everything happens on a timeline that we can't control. We can influence it, but I truly believe that everything happens when God is ready for it to happen. So sometimes people stress themselves out and they're trying to do extra work, but that's just not where they are in the process. So I believe that people have to understand that everything is a process. I have a motto that I live by, which is patience plus resilience plus an optimistic attitude means that you can overcome anything.
That's wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Your dedication and continuous learning is evident. Your heart is just gold. And I'm so grateful that you came on to share information. I learned a lot, and I pray our listeners have learned a lot. You gave us so much information to run with and to work on. And I thank you so much for coming on the show. I hate that it's over because I have so many more questions. I had a list of questions. We talked about Pro Advantage. We talked about SCORE. We talked about text messages. We talked about health advocacy. We talked about how much we need to have a balance in life,
Yeah.
and we
Yeah.
have to give ourselves that balance and be
Mhm.
kind
Mhm.
to ourselves, because
Yeah.
if we don't do it, no one else will, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on the show. Thank you, listeners, entrepreneurs struggling with mental health challenges, struggling with, trying to figure it out. Look, you got some great gems here. Albert, thank you for coming on the show. Where can people reach you?
So you can reach me on my website. It's albertcshaw.com, or you can look me up on any social media platform. I am CEO Shaw, so Facebook, Instagram, but also on my website, you can subscribe. And then that way you can get the motivational text messages and any, events that I have coming up and stuff like that.
Thank you once again. And thank you all for coming to the PlanetRoq Podcast, giving us your time. I know you could be any place else listening, but you chose to come here, and we are grateful. I'm grateful for you. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful and blessed day.
What an awesome show full of insight and inspiration. Thank you to our guests and listeners. Look forward to hearing us next week on envision-radio.com at 12 noon, right here on PlanetRoq.